At 67, with a brain tumor pressing against my optic nerve, I trusted my son completely when he promised to take me to the most important medical appointment of my life. Instead, he chose 18 holes of golf and a $2.3 million handshake. As I sat alone in an Uber pawn searing through my head, I still believed it was just a terrible mistake. I couldn't imagine that the son I'd taught compassion to was laughing on a golf course while I fought to save my sight. But the truth was far worse. His abandonment wasn't impulsive. It was part of a calculated plan where my survival stood in the way of their $1 million dream. What happens next will shock you. But first, drop a comment. What country are you in, and have you experienced family betrayal for money? My name is Philip Harlow, and at 67, I thought I understood family loyalty. For 42 years, I'd built bridges across Washington state steel and concrete, designed to last generations. I approached relationships the same way solid foundations, unwavering integrity. Our Capitol Hill home had been sanctuary for 3 decades. $400,000 in assets house, worth $280 savings $120, all earned through honest engineering work and calloused hands. January 15th changed everything. Susan's diabetes complications took her on a gray Seattle Tuesday. The funeral overflowed our neighborhood church with colleagues, neighbors, and decades of friends. Landon, 38, and living in Ballard, had always been Susan's favorite. "Mama's boy," she'd called him fondly. Those first weeks after the funeral, he seemed devastated, stopping by twice weekly organizing belongings, even attempting Susan's pot roast recipes. Grayson, my younger son at 35, lived in Portland working as a structural engineer. Distance made visits impossible, but he called every evening at 8 sharp. Weekend visits meant hours maintaining the house gutters, faucets tasks reminding me how I'd slowed down. The shift in Landon started around March. Visits became 30-minute check-ins instead of afternoon conversations. His patience wore thin when I mentioned loneliness or struggling with tasks Susan had handled. "Dad, you need to stop being so needy." He'd snap, scrolling his phone. "I have my own life. Susan's gone. You can't expect us to replace her." Grayson quietly stepped up. He paid my medications when Medicare left me $300 short monthly. He took unpaid leave for medical appointments. He organized Susan's photo albums, acknowledging every anniversary. The contrast became stark as winter melded into spring. March 15th brought terror. Severe headaches, vision problems, making driving dangerous, balance issues, leaving me gripping handrails. Doctor Matthews at University of Washington Medical delivered the diagnosis: benign brain tumor, 3.2 centimeters pressing against neural pathways. "Not immediately life-threatening, Mr. Harlow," he explained, pointing to MRI storm clouds in my skull. "But we need surgical consultation within 4 to 6 weeks. Longer risks permanent neurological damage, possibly blindness or paralysis." Earliest appointment, May 15th. 8 weeks felt eternal, when every headache reminded me of the uninvited guest growing inside my brain. Both sons' responses revealed everything. Grayson immediately offered to fly up for every appointment. Landon's reaction was reluctant agreement wrapped in irritation. "Fine, I'll drive you." He sighed through the phone. "But this medical drama is getting old, Dad. You've been milking this sick old man thing ever since Mom died." I chose Landon anyway, hoping mortality might restore our lost connection. I believed crisis would override whatever resentment had poisoned our relationship. Looking back, that decision revealed my greatest engineering flaw. I'd built expectations on a foundation already cracked beyond repair. The morning of May 15th arrived with Seattle's typical drizzle. I woke before dawn, showered and dressed carefully. Today would finally bring answers about my brain tumor. By 7:45, I sat by the living room window, watching for Landon's silver Honda. My medical files lay organized, insurance cards ready. The consultation was scheduled for 9:30, plenty of time to reach University of Washington Medical Center. 8:15 passed, no Honda, no call. When my phone finally rang at 8:20, Landon's irritated voice made my stomach drop. "Dad, I'm not coming. Robert's contract signing moved to today." "Landon, this is my brain surgery consultation. I've waited 8 weeks. It's the $2.3 million Bellevue project. My future depends on this deal." His tone suggested I was being unreasonable. This is what real opportunities look like. "My appointment is at 9:30. If I'm late, it's just a consultation, Dad. You're not dying today." He sounded annoyed, like I'd interrupted something important. "Honestly, you've become such a burden since Mom died." The word hit like a physical blow. Burden. Every week it's some new medical appointment, some new crisis. Robert's contract is worth more than your doctor visit. This golf meeting could set me up for life. Your brain thing can wait. My brain thing, I repeated, stunned. Landon, I could go blind. Stop being so dramatic. You're 67, not 90. I'm tired of my life revolving around your medical problems. Figure it out yourself. I've got a real opportunity here. The line went dead. I sat motionless for 5 minutes, replaying words I couldn't believe came from my son. With shaking hands, I called an Uber. Ahmed, a kind Pakistani driver, immediately noticed my distress. Sir, you look very upset. Everything okay? My son chose golf over my brain surgery consultation, I said, voice cracking. I'm so sorry, sir. Some children forget their duties. Traffic crawled on Interstate 5. As we inched past construction zones, I couldn't stop replaying Landon's cruelty. When had my medical needs become mere inconvenience to him? We arrived at 9:47, 17 minutes late. The receptionist shook her head sympathetically. Mr. Harlow, Dr. Matthews had to take his next patient. I can reschedule for July 20th. 2 more months of tumor growth while my son celebrated his golf triumph. That afternoon, neighbor Gloria knocked on my door, studying my devastated expression. Philip, I saw Landon this morning around 9:05. He was with an older gentleman in a Mercedes, both in golf attire, laughing loudly. Very animated, like celebrating something wonderful. My heart sank. While I'd been heartbroken in an Uber desperately trying to reach my doctor, Landon had been driving past my neighborhood in celebration mode. This wasn't carelessness or poor timing. This was calculated cruelty. My son saw me as an obstacle to his success, and he was willing to sacrifice my health, possibly my life, to remove that obstacle. The boy I'd taught to ride a bike, to throw a baseball, to be a good man, had just chosen money over my survival. That evening I sat in Susan's favorite armchair, replaying Landon's words. Burden, medical drama. Figure it out yourself. Each phrase cut deeper than surgical instruments. When did my son start hating me? I whispered to the empty room. The engineering photos on my mantel bridges I'd built problems I'd solved seemed to mock me. I could design earthquake-resistant structures, but had missed the collapse in my own family. My methodical mind finally engaged. 42 years of problem-solving had taught me gather data, analyze patterns, find solutions. I retrieved a legal pad and began documenting, hands shaking as I wrote Landon's cruel quotes. I called Grayson that evening, voice-breaking as I recounted the betrayal. He called you a burden. Grayson's disbelief was palpable. Said your brain tumor was dramatic. That wasn't the brother I knew, Dad. Something's seriously wrong. I'm flying up first thing tomorrow. This is unacceptable. Grayson arrived the next afternoon, having taken emergency leave from Portland. One look at my devastated state, and his jaw tightened with protective fury. Tell me everything, word for word. As I read my notes, Grayson's anger built. Dad, Betty's been poisoning him for months. She complains you're holding them back financially. She says you're too needy and living too long. The words hung like toxic smoke. My daughter-in-law wished me dead. Dad, I've gladly spent $1,800 on your care this year. Every penny, every unpaid day, you're worth it. You're my father. The next morning brought another blow. My bank manager called concern evident despite her professional tone. Mr. Harlow, your son claimed you're mentally incompetent from your tumor. He said it made you delusional and paranoid, that you don't understand money anymore. What did he want? Immediate account access to prevent you from wasting savings on unnecessary treatments. He called your cancer care throwing money away on false hope. False hope. My fight for survival was false hope to my son. The final devastation came that evening when Grayson returned from visiting Landon, face pale with shock. Dad, I need you to hear something. I went to Landon's house and heard him on the phone in his backyard. I recorded it. Grayson's speaker crackled with Landon's voice clear and calculating. The old man is becoming a real problem. Every month he lives is money down the drain. His brain thing could drag on for years, bleeding us dry. We need him gone before he spends our inheritance on doctors. Betty's right. He's selfish for clinging to life like this. I stopped listening. My son, the boy I'd taught to throw baseballs, to drive stick shift, to treat people with respect, was discussing my death like a business obstacle. Grayson, I said quietly, he wants me dead. Dad, we need to protect you from him. The horror settled in completely. This wasn't family betrayal anymore. This was something darker. I was dealing with someone who viewed my existence as a financial threat. The son I'd raised with love had been replaced by a stranger who calculated my worth in dollars, and saw my medical treatments as theft from his inheritance. Landon hadn't just abandoned me on May 15th. He'd been hoping that delay would solve his old man problem permanently. The boy I'd loved unconditionally now saw my survival as his enemy. The deeper we dug, the more horrifying the truth became. Grayson had transformed into a detective, methodically uncovering the full scope of Landon and Betty's conspiracy. 3 days after the recorded conversation, my former colleague Jerry called with disturbing news. Philip, I witnessed something deeply troubling at yesterday's real estate investor meeting. My stomach tightened. What kind of meeting? Landon was there presenting what he called upcoming estate liquidation opportunities. He had professional photos of your house, detailed property values, even interior shots I recognized from Christmas visits. The room began spinning. What exactly did he say? He told the room, my father has terminal brain cancer. These premium assets will be available soon due to health circumstances. When someone asked about your prognosis, Philip, he actually laughed. Jerry's voice carried genuine disgust. He said, the doctors give him 6 months, but I'm hoping for 3. Someone asked if you knew about this presentation, and your son replied, what the old man doesn't know won't hurt him. I gripped the phone until my knuckles went white. My son was publicly celebrating my anticipated death, marketing my life's work like commodity futures. Grayson's investigation into Betty revealed the poison source. Through careful eavesdropping and social media monitoring, he'd uncovered her conversations with country club friends. Dad, Betty's been systematically destroying Landon's relationship with you. Grayson reported, showing me printed screenshots. She tells people you're selfishly clinging to life and wasting Landon's inheritance on pointless treatments. The evidence was damning. Betty had told friends the brain tumor was actually a blessing in disguise. It'll speed things up. She'd convinced Landon that I loved Grayson more, that I planned to leave everything to my younger son. She's been whispering that you don't deserve to live when they need money now. Grayson continued, his voice thick with disgust. She actually said, why wait for nature when we can help it along? The medical consequences of their May 15th betrayal became clear on July 20th. Doctor, Matthews delivered devastating news the tumor had grown significantly during the 2-month delay, requiring far more complex surgery with reduced success rates. I called Landon immediately, hoping this reality might shock him back to humanity. The tumor's grown son. Dr. Matthews says the delay made everything more complicated. I need major surgery now. Landon's response chilled my blood. Well, maybe this will finally resolve itself naturally. Landon, I could die without this operation. Dad, you're 67. You've had a good run. Maybe it's time to accept that your time is up. Stop fighting nature. It's embarrassing. I could die, I repeated, desperate for some spark of the sun I'd raised. Then die, he said flatly. At least we'd have closure. The line went dead, leaving me staring at the phone in absolute horror. The final revelation came when Grayson discovered Landon's Google search history on our shared family computer, the one I'd bought for everyone to use during visits. Grayson's hands shook as he showed me the printout. How to accelerate brain tumor progression. Signs of natural death from brain tumors. How long can elderly survive without medical treatment? Convincing elderly to refuse life-saving surgery. As I stared at those search terms, the last illusion shattered. My son wasn't just hoping for my death, he was researching how to cause it. The boy I'd taught to ride bicycles, to throw baseballs, to be a decent human being, was now studying how to murder his own father. Grayson, I whispered, I need protection from my own child. By August 1st, I'd reached my breaking point. Grayson helped me gather every piece of evidence, recordings, witness statements, medical reports, and we drove to downtown Seattle to meet Thomas Reynolds, the elder law specialist Grayson had researched. Reynolds' office overlooked Elliott Bay, but I barely noticed the view. My hands trembled as I spread documents across his mahogany desk, like evidence at a crime scene. He's researching how to accelerate brain tumor progression. Reynolds, a distinguished man in his 60s, leaned forward with genuine concern. Mr. Harlow, what you're describing goes beyond elder abuse. This constitutes conspiracy to commit murder. The words broke something inside me. I started crying for the first time since Susan's funeral. I raised him to be a good man. Where did I go wrong? He used to hug me goodnight, and now he's calculating my death date. You didn't fail, Reynolds said firmly. Some people choose evil despite excellent parenting. Washington state law will protect you completely from this monster. My grief hardened into resolve. I want him to inherit nothing. He's already murdered the father who loved him. Reynolds spent the next hour documenting the stark contrast between my sons with methodical precision. Grayson's devotion was overwhelming when laid out systematically. 730 consecutive daily phone calls, $1,800 in medical expenses he'd covered, 24 unpaid workdays spent caring for me. His character witnesses included Portland colleagues who'd watched him sacrifice career advancement to support his father. Landon's cruelty was equally well documented, calling me a burden, telling me to figure it out yourself, publicly celebrating my anticipated death at real estate meetings. The Google searches for accelerating my death sealed his moral condemnation. Grayson sees your illness as something to fight together, I testified to Reynolds. Landon sees my illness as an obstacle to his inheritance. Grayson prays for my recovery. Landon prays for my death. Reynolds nodded gravely. This documentation proves Grayson earned every penny through filial devotion. Landon earned his disinheritance through calculated cruelty. The will signing on August 10th became an emotional ceremony of justice. I'd made my decision with absolute clarity. Grayson inherits 75% because he chose love over money. I declared as Reynolds prepared the documents. Landon gets 25% because blood doesn't excuse evil. I'm not punishing Landon, I'm rewarding Grayson's goodness. I included specific provisions that reflected my pain. No funeral access for Landon, he wished me dead repeatedly. No deathbed reconciliation, he forfeited that right through his cruelty. When I die, I told Reynolds, I want Grayson to tell Landon exactly what his heartlessness cost him $200,000. The medical power of attorney went exclusively to Grayson. Grayson makes healthcare decisions because he wants me alive. Landon would probably pull the plug himself. As I signed each document, something profound shifted inside me. The grief that had consumed me for months began transforming into something cleaner. Justice. I'm not losing a son, I realized aloud. I already lost him to greed months ago. Grayson is my real son. Landon is a stranger wearing my child's face. Reynolds witnessed my transformation with professional satisfaction. Mr. Harlow, protecting yourself from Landon is protecting your late wife's memory. She would want you to choose the son who honors her values. Walking out of that office, I felt lighter than I had in months. Susan's spirit seemed to approve of my decisions. The son who wanted me dead didn't deserve the fruits of my life's work. But I knew Landon's desperation would make him dangerous. When he discovered what I'd done, his mask would come off completely. 3 weeks after signing my new will, Landon's desperation finally erupted into open threats. His call on August 20th carried none of his previous manipulative charm, just raw aggression barely contained by a thin veneer of fake concern. Dad, we're coming over tomorrow. No excuses, no delays. His voice had the hard edge of someone who'd abandoned all pretense. Your brain condition is making you paranoid and stupid. My stomach tightened at the shift in tone. This wasn't the son who'd once asked politely for favors. This was someone preparing for war. Betty and I are taking control before you do something really idiotic. He continued, each word carefully chosen to wound. Your judgment is completely shot now. What do you mean taking control? I asked, though I already suspected the answer. You're not competent anymore, Dad. We're your family, we decide what happens now. You can cooperate, or we'll have you declared mentally incompetent. Either way, your days of wasting our money are over. The threat was crystal clear. Comply or be institutionalized. Grayson flew up immediately after I called him, his protective instincts fully activated. Within hours, he'd positioned recording equipment throughout my living room and briefed me on what to expect. Dad, he's making criminal threats now. This is extortion. Grayson said, his jaw tight with controlled fury. I'm documenting every word of this attempted robbery. Part of me still hoped some fragment of my real son might emerge during the confrontation. Grayson may be somewhere inside him. Dad, your real son is standing right here, Grayson interrupted gently. That thing coming tomorrow is just wearing his face. Let him destroy himself with his own words. At exactly 2 p.m. on August 21st, Landon and Betty arrived. The moment I opened the door, I knew the last vestige of my son had died. His eyes held nothing but cold calculation and barely restrained rage. Sit down, old man. We need to talk. The disrespect was immediate and intentional. Your brain is obviously scrambled if you think you can still make decisions. Betty attempted her usual manipulation. Philip, we're here to help. Landon cut her off with visible irritation. Drop the act, Betty. He knows why we're here. He turned back to me with undisguised contempt. Dad, you're going to sign these papers, or things will get very unpleasant. What kind of papers? Power of attorney, complete control. You're done making decisions. He pulled documents from a briefcase with the confidence of someone who believed he held all the cards. Your judgment is shot. Your brain is rotting. You're a liability to everyone around you. The papers were comprehensive financial control property, sale authority, medical decisions. Everything I'd worked 42 years to build signed away with a few signatures. We're taking over before you flush our inheritance down the toilet on useless treatments. Landon continued, his voice rising with each word. Sign it now, or I'll have you committed to a mental facility. I've already talked to doctors about your deteriorating condition. When I hesitated, his facade collapsed completely. The mask he'd worn for months finally shattered, revealing the monster underneath. You selfish old bastard! He screamed, spittle flying from his lips. You've lived long enough. Mom's dead. Your brain is dying. Just give up already. Betty tried weakly to calm him. Landon, not so loud. I don't care who hears. His voice echoed through my house like a war cry. Every day you live costs me money. I deserve. I wish that tumor would hurry up and kill you. The words hung in the air like poison gas. My own son screaming his desire for my death in my own living room. Sign the papers, or I'll make your remaining time absolute hell. As those words left his mouth, I felt the last piece of my heart that had loved him die. But in that death, I found perfect clarity. This wasn't my child anymore. This was my enemy. And I was about to show him what happens when you threaten a civil engineer who spent months building the perfect trap. As Landon finished screaming his death wishes, something profound shifted in the room's atmosphere. My panic transformed into surgical calm, the same methodical precision I'd used solving engineering problems for 4 decades. Before I sign anything, I said, my voice carrying an eerie tranquility that made Landon step back. Let me share some observations. You threatened to make my remaining time hell. Betty shifted uncomfortably as I continued with engineering precision. I've documented your transformation into something monstrous. May 15th, you called my brain surgery medical drama, and chose golf over my potential blindness. You told me I was being too dramatic about neurological damage. Landon's arrogance began cracking as I methodically destroyed his narrative. July 20th, when my tumor had grown dangerously, you said maybe this will finally resolve itself. You told your dying father to just die and stop fighting nature. Dad, that's not... Landon started weakly. I'm not finished. My voice carried the authority of absolute moral certainty. Grayson, play the recording. Grayson activated the speaker, and Landon's voice filled my living room with damning clarity. The old man is becoming a real problem. Every month he lives his money down the drain. His brain thing could drag on for years, bleeding us dry. We need him gone before he spends our inheritance on doctors. Betty's right, he's selfish for clinging to life. The color drained from Landon's face as his own words condemned him. Betty started crying, not from remorse, but from fear of consequences. You celebrated my anticipated death publicly. I continued relentlessly. You told real estate investors I had 3 months to live and laughed about my prognosis with strangers. You researched how to accelerate brain tumor progression. I didn't mean, Landon stammered desperately. You meant every word. You wanted your father dead for money. I spread Dr. Matthews' medical reports across the coffee table like evidence at trial. Your betrayal on May 15th caused direct medical harm. What should have been routine surgery became complex and dangerous because of your cruelty. You didn't just abandon me, you damaged me permanently. The doctor's written statement was devastating. Patients' delayed treatment directly caused tumor progression and surgical complications. You literally made my condition worse by choosing golf over my brain. Landon was now visibly shaking, finally understanding the magnitude of his documented cruelty. Grayson stepped out from the bedroom, briefcase in hand, and Landon's face showed pure terror. I've recorded every threat, every wish for Dad's death, Grayson announced with quiet satisfaction. Every cruel word is now legal evidence. Grayson, show them what real sons receive, I said with calm finality. Show them the consequences of wishing your father dead. As Grayson opened that briefcase and pulled out the new will, I watched something I'd never seen in Landon's eyes before, genuine bone-deep fear. For the first time in months, he realized his cruelty had real consequences. The son who'd wanted me dead was about to discover what it meant to be dead to me. Grayson opened the briefcase with ceremonial gravity and handed me the documents that would destroy Landon's world completely. I spread the official papers across my coffee table where everyone could see. then looked directly at my son, who'd wished me dead. This is my new will, dated August 10th, 2023. I announced reading from the document Attorney Reynolds had prepared. Grayson inherits 75% $300,000 for choosing love over money. Landon inherits 25% $100,000 for wishing his father dead. Landon's face went from confusion to horror to rage in seconds. You can't do this. I'm your son. Sons don't wish their fathers dead for inheritance money, I replied with absolute calm. Sons don't call brain surgery medical drama. Sons don't celebrate their father's anticipated death with strangers. You stopped being my son when you started planning my funeral. Betty exploded in fury. This isn't fair. We had plans. Your plans required my death, I responded coldly. My plans require your accountability. Grayson spent $1,800 on my medications. You researched how to kill me. Grayson took 24 unpaid days to care for me. You took golf days to abandon me. Grayson earned his inheritance through love. You earned yours through hatred. The financial devastation continued systematically. The Bellevue condo already transferred to Grayson. My life insurance, Grayson gets every penny. This house, Grayson inherits it all. Landon's face showed dawning comprehension of his complete ruin. Your $2.3 million golf contract, Robert canceled it yesterday. He told me, I don't do business with sons who want their fathers dead. Apparently, word travels fast in Seattle's business community. My final blow landed with surgical precision. You chose money over me, so now you get neither. Landon dropped to his knees, desperation replacing his earlier arrogance. Dad, I'm sorry, I didn't mean those things. I was stressed about money. You meant every word, I interrupted. And now you live with the consequences. You wanted me dead. Now you're dead to me. The social destruction had already begun. Within days, the story spread through Seattle like wildfire. Landon Harlow had wished his father's brain tumor would kill him faster. Neighbors crossed streets to avoid him. Former friends wouldn't return calls. How do you wish death on your own father became the question that followed him everywhere. The country club revoked his membership immediately. Betty's wealthy family disowned her completely, her father reportedly saying, We didn't raise you to be a vulture. Real estate colleagues avoided him like a plague carrier, knowing he'd publicly celebrated his father's brain tumor. Robert Pemberton's business network blacklisted him permanently. Character matters in business. Robert had told mutual contacts, I won't associate with someone who prays for his parents' death. As Landon and Betty left my house that day, him screaming threats, her sobbing hysterically, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months, profound peace. I'm not losing a son, I realized aloud to Grayson. I'm removing a tumor. Landon was the real cancer in my life. Cutting him out was the surgery I actually needed. Grayson put his arm around my shoulders. Dad, you did the right thing. Mom would be proud. Grayson is my legacy. I continued watching Landon's car disappear down Pine Street. Landon was my mistake, and I finally corrected it. That evening I sat in Susan's favorite chair, feeling lighter than I had since her death. The son who'd wanted me dead was now dead to me. The tumor in my brain would be removed by doctors in October, but the tumor in my family, I'd excise that myself. For the first time in months, I could focus entirely on living, surrounded by people who actually wanted me alive. October 15th arrived with the crisp promise of autumn in Seattle. The surgery took 6 hours, and Grayson never left the hospital waiting room, pacing the corridors like a guardian angel in jeans and sneakers. When I woke in recovery, the first face I saw was his tired but smiling, relief flooding his features. Grayson, you're here? Where else would I be, Dad? You're my father. His voice carried the warmth that had sustained me through months of darkness. He told me later that Landon had called the hospital during surgery, asking about my condition not out of concern, but hoping to hear I'd died on the operating table. Grayson had instructed the staff, He's not family anymore. Don't give him any information. By January 2024, I'd made a complete recovery under Grayson's devoted care. The tumor was gone, my vision restored, my balance steady. More importantly, the toxic relationship that had poisoned my life was finally excised. Landon's desperate attempts at reconciliation became increasingly pathetic. He tried visiting the hospital. Security removed him. He sent letters claiming he'd only been stressed about money and still loved me. Through Attorney Reynolds, I responded simply, Love doesn't wish death on people. When he showed up at my house, Grayson called the police. Our final confrontation happened on my front porch, with Grayson recording everything. "Dad, please, I'm your son. I made mistakes. My son died the day he chose golf over my brain surgery," I replied with absolute finality. "You're a stranger wearing his face. You researched how to kill me. That wasn't a mistake, that was attempted murder. I never actually tried to hurt you. You hurt me every day by wishing I was dead. The door closed between us forever." Meanwhile, Grayson's life transformed beautifully. He relocated permanently to Seattle, buying a house just 10 minutes from mine. His children, my grandchildren, adored their grandfather who'd fought a brain tumor and won. I helped establish college funds for them, planned family trips, created the memories Landon had tried to steal. Landon's destruction was complete. Divorced, bankrupt, unemployable in Seattle, he fled to another state and changed his professional name. Betty remarried quickly a wealthy older man she'd met through her father. "I learned to pick better targets," she reportedly told friends. Landon lived with the consequences of his choices. No friends, no family, no respect. He'd traded his father's love for money and received neither. On January 15th, 2024, exactly 1 year after Susan's death, Grayson and I visited her grave together. The Seattle sky was clear Mount Rainier, visible in the distance like a blessing. "Susan, I kept your values alive," I said, placing white roses on her headstone. "I chose the son who chose love over the son who chose greed. Some children honor their parents. Others devour them. I fed the right wolf." Grayson squeezed my shoulder as I continued. "Family isn't just blood. It's choice, sacrifice, and respect for life itself. When someone wishes you dead, even family, you have the right to choose life without them." Standing there in the peaceful cemetery, I realized my greatest lesson: protecting yourself from toxic family isn't cruelty, it's survival. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give a good child is removing a bad one's poison from their life. Looking back at this journey, I realize these betrayal stories teach us that love must be earned through actions, not just words. When Landon chose golf over my brain surgery, God was already showing me who my real son was. Grayson's devotion, those daily phone calls, unpaid days, caring for me, $1,800 spent on my medications, these were God's way of revealing true family love. These betrayal stories aren't uncommon among elderly parents today. Too many grandpa stories end with children seeing inheritance as more valuable than their parents' life. But I learned that protecting yourself from toxic family isn't cruel. It's survival. The Lord gave me strength to make the hardest decision of my life, choosing the son who chose me. What breaks my heart in so many grandpa stories is how family members exploit medical crises for financial gain. Landon didn't just abandon me, he researched ways to accelerate my death. But God works in mysterious ways, using even betrayal to reveal truth. Through Grayson's loyalty and Landon's cruelty, I learned that blood doesn't create family, actions do. My advice to anyone facing similar betrayal stories: document everything, seek legal protection, and trust your instincts. When someone wishes you dead, even family, you have the right to choose life without them. Don't let guilt trap you with those planning your funeral while you're still breathing. Today, watching Grayson's children play in my garden, I know Susan would approve. These grandpa stories should end with wisdom, not regret. I chose the son who honored his mother's memory over the one who dishonored it. Sometimes the greatest act of love is refusing to enable someone's cruelty. The most important lesson, family, is defined by love and sacrifice, not DNA. Choose your family wisely, protect your dignity fiercely, and never apologize for surviving those who wanted you gone. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about family justice and survival. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to protect yourself from toxic family. Comment below. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and self-preservation? Your stories matter, and this community is here to support each other. Thank you for listening.